As anybody who ever did that goddamn remote control plane mission in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas will tell you, the world can be a frustrating place. In professional wrestling, that isn't so much a bad thing though. I mean, this is a fighting business after all, but history is full of competitors who could no longer deal with the politics, the nonsense, the nepotism, and simply gave up. Wrestling isn't like normal life though, so this doesn't always lead to people slinking off into the darkness with the hump. Sometimes just letting go while you're still in the spotlight can create magic, can create greatness. Other times, throwing your hands up in a manner that screams, well, this can lead to some of the most entertaining matches possible. For some, let's call them not good reasons. Let's give this an explore. My name is Adam Cleary, and these are 10 great matches when wrestlers stopped giving a damn. Number 10, The Rock vs. The Hurricane, Raw 2003. Much like myself, The Rock is the most charismatic man of his entire generation, aesthetically perfect, irritatingly talented, and absolutely electric. But unlike me, the guy works really hard all the time. Take, par exemple, a seemingly innocuous Raw match against The Hurricane in March 2003. The Rock was more Hollywood than Squared Circle at this point, and the days of fighting for space at the top of the card were long gone. This was just Dwayne Johnson having fun in the ring and doing whatever he wanted. And yet, in spite of that, the two had an absolute ripper. The Hurricane was and is one of the most underrated in-ring performers of the era, and The Rock played the perfect cocky big man. Sure, the finish was WWE at its most eye-rolling. Oh no, what's that? Some entrance music? I must turn my back. But this was seriously good pro wrestling. Even when he stopped caring, The Rock was still the great one. Number 9, Brock Lesnar vs. Samoa Joe, Great Balls of Fire 2017. Now, far be it from me to dismiss a WWE pay-per-view main event as a minor match, but in the grand scheme of the calendar, this sort of was. Great Balls of Fire wasn't WrestleMania, it wasn't SummerSlam, it wasn't even Stomping Grounds. So you take that, a vaguely disinterested Lesnar, and a match time that barely stretched over 6 minutes, and you have a recipe for, well, you've all heard this song by now. However, one thing this did have going for it was that Samoa Joe is a human wrecking ball with something to prove and hands to throw. This was a thrilling 6-minute brawl that stands up as one of the Beast's best matches in the last couple of years. Now, it's easier said than done, I will grant you, but sometimes you just need to beat a good match out of an apathetic Lesnar. Number 8, Team DX vs. Team RKO, Survivor Series 2006. One of the great guilty pleasures of 21st century professional wrestling, Team DX vs. Team RKO ended up being one of the most lopsided matches in Survivor Series history. I mean, did Triple H and co need to clean sweep the heels? No, they did not, but it was all sorts of fun while it happened. Mike Knox lasted a matter of seconds, and Shawn Michael, burying the fledgling ECW brand in the process, played that he had no idea who he just kicked. DX, the Hardy Boys, and CM Punk resoundingly defeated Orton, Edge, Gregory Helms, Johnny Nitro, and Knox without so much as breaking a sweat. Despite the irrelevance of it all, this was a fantastic example of how pro wrestling can be entirely carried by charisma and star power alone. None of the competitors really gave a damn about the match, but it was a tremendous showcase for magnetic personalities and pure, unadulterated popularity. Number 7, Ultimate Warrior vs. Hunter Hearst Helmsley, WrestleMania 12. This, match between Ultimate Warrior and Triple H at WrestleMania 12 is often held up as one of the worst, or at least most pointless, in the history of the event. Warrior demolished Hunter in all of 99 seconds, no selling a pedigree in the process, and the match has gone down in history as one of the most famous squashes of all time. The story goes that Triple H tried to discuss the match with the returning Warrior, but the face-painted maniac was having precisely diddly zip of any of it. He wasn't going to be doing anything more than just obliterating his young opponent. If that sounds harsh, then just try and keep in mind that Warrior's big return was one of the biggest selling points of WrestleMania XEE, and him grinding Hunter into a fine paste was purely what the crowd wanted to see. Does it stand the test of time? No, of course it doesn't, but that's not the point. Warrior wasn't interested in a good match, but neither was anybody else who tuned in to watch. Number 6, Becky Lynch vs. Lacey Evans, Stomping Grounds 2019. Now, apologies to Jim Cornette's blood pressure here, but professional wrestling, for better or for worse, is a dance. It's two individuals putting on a captivating and entertaining show for an audience through the medium of simulated violence. That dance requires at least 2 people, and you are only ever as good as the person across the ring from you. That's a slight drawback, of course, as inexperienced inexperience and poor timing on the part of one leads to both competitors being embarrassed in front of a live crowd. WWE, in their infinite wisdom, decided that the best way to follow up Becky Lynch's history-making victory in the main event of WrestleMania 35 was a feud with the relatively inexperienced Lacey Evans. Lynch and Lacey had a series of awkward matches, but the last televised singles match was arguably really good. Why, you ask? Well, Lacey's inexperience essentially became too much for the man, and Lynch decided to stop caring about the program and just drag a good match out of the newcomer by any means necessary. Just worth saying at this point, mind, that Evans, probably partially as a result of this feud with Lynch, now looks really great in the ring, I think. Just a shame they threw her in the deep end like this. Number 5, the Acolytes vs Public Enemy, Sunday Night Heat 1999. Unprofessional? Absolutely. A vile display of a culture that pro wrestling should have left behind by this point. Guilty as charged. Reckless bullying in a public setting? Yes. Also that. The famous heat match between the Acolytes and Public Enemy was all of this and much, much more and much, much worse, as Farouk and Bradshaw beat the ever-loving tar out of Johnny Grunge and Rocco Rock. Even to the most naive of pro wrestling fans, you can see the APA did not give a flying fudge about this match. They were sent out to beat the snot out of the newcomers and to send a message to the duo in the most unprofessional way possible. It was a televised mugging, little else. But, oh god, I can't believe I'm gonna admit this on a public forum, but holy hell, was it captivating. Hard to watch, obviously, but who knew that Bradshaw and Farouk cared the most when they just stopped caring? This is a 3-minute bloody ballet of perpetual motion that must have hurt for weeks afterwards. Number 4, Bret Hart vs Booker T, WCW Nitro 1999. Truth be told, most of Bret Hart's WCW career could find a place on this list. He walked into a land of bloated paychecks and creative confusion that stifled anything that was good about professional wrestling. His move also coincided with the tide turning in the Monday Night Wars, so needless to say, Hart could be forgiven for not really caring too much about his output on Nitro. But there are gems in there, don't you doubt it. One of the highlights of Bret's time in WCW was this Nitro match against Booker T, one of a number of excellent matches the pair had together. A babyface battle that showed the energy and excitement of Booker and the veteran prowess of Hart. It was proof, even as WCW lurched from one creative disaster to another, that it was still capable of putting on top quality pro wrestling. Booker T eventually pulled out the win, tying Bret up after the Hitman went for a sunset flip. Was this his signature way to lose? Going for one of those only for the babyface opponent to sit down and hook the legs? Well, who knows? Anyway, it was good, even if he didn't care, so check it out. Number 3, Neville vs Austin Aries, Extreme Rules 2017. Oh my, wow, this feels like an absolute lifetime ago, doesn't it? Neville's WWE run came to a frustrating end, but that is nothing I tell you compared to the tenure of the air quotes greatest man who ever lived. Some 3 years on, fans can be forgiven for forgetting that Aries was ever even in WWE at all. He was one of those who suffered from moving from NXT to 205 Live, although he was positioned as a major performer on the Cruiserweight brand. Aries and Neville feuded over the purple title during WrestleMania season, with Neville getting the better of Aries in every single match. Extreme Rules 2017 was their last bout, and it was the last time we saw Aries in a WWE ring, with that famous post-defeat smirk into the camera suggesting he had long since stopped caring about what happened to him in this company. But despite that, this final match was excellent. 2 top-tier professional wrestlers showing what they can do with the bare minimum of interest. Number 2, Hulk Hogan vs Shawn Michaels, SummerSlam 2005. Yes, you knew this was going to be in here. Sorry, no, there are no prizes. A dream match that nobody had ever actually dreamed about. Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan put on a, let's call it, memorable bout at SummerSlam 2005. While the build was great, it was the match itself that sticks in the collective memory, mostly for HBK's preposterous selling. Now, in fairness, Michaels was an expressive seller at the best of times, but this match with Hogan saw him flopping around like a particularly limmy fish trying to win a famous razors round in a game of charades. Look, you see, this one here, that's what goes around comes around, I think. Michaels may not have taken the match particularly seriously, but his exaggerated bumping elevated it from a sluggish bout between two legends to something that fans remember fondly to this day. And isn't that the whole point of professional wrestling, to create memories that make fans smile like this? Number 1, John Cena vs CM Punk, Raw 2013. Is this the greatest Raw match of the last decade? Well, Well, that's not for me to say, but yes, obviously the Monday night bout between John Cena and CM Punk still holds up today. The two battled for the right to face The Rock in the main event of WrestleMania 29, but there was way more to it than that. For Cena, a 5th Mania main event beckoned. For Punk, the culmination of a life's work of vindication. The match was an absolute banger, an instant classic that would stand up in any era against any roster. It's most famous for a piledriver spot that drew a fantastic reaction out of the Dallas crowd, but there was a lot more to this than a banned move getting a rare outing. This 26-minute thriller was the last ever singles match between the two men, and it all took place with Punk at his most apathetic. His record-breaking WWE Championship reign had been mistreated from start to finish and was now over, and a WrestleMania main event that was rightfully his was slipping away. Punk was suffering from an illness and wasn't particularly interested in it at all, only for the reactions of the Dallas crowd to pull him out of this particular stupor, creating a modern classic in the process. So there you have it, those were 10 great matches when wrestlers stopped giving a damn, read to you by a man who always gives a damn, because that's just what my first name is. Let me know what you made of it all in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share and subscribe. In the meantime though, thank you so much for watching. I have of course been Adam Cleary, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.